Ooh, weird lag. Must be the stream starting up. Okay, looks like we're coming online. So big hello to future viewers and the 0 people who have jumped right in. Today's plan is to work on the circus tent. And I've got a decent amount of time to do it. At least 2 hours. Yeah, my maths is right. Just waiting to see the green light from Facebook before we really kick it off, although I suppose I can kick it off. What I wanted to start off with, I like working with a dark background like this because it's easier on the eyes. And also, some of you may be watching live from America, where it's currently the middle of the night. So I imagine this is much easier to look at than a big white canvas. The downside is my grid is just a little bit icky, way too sharp. So let me jump into preferences and fix this. One of those things I should have done before hitting the go live button, but here we are. Partly because I need to search for it first. Okay, so what color do I want it to be? Just a darker gray, I think. Yeah, that's easy on the eyes. That's perfect. We lose it a bit in here, but that's all right. We can change that color to whatever we want. Oh, I've neglected to start up my stream chat overlay thingamajiggy. All right, we're officially ready to get started. So I've been thinking about this map, and it's expanded from my original plan. My original plan was to do our whole list of circus map assets, including tents and everything else, in a single package, right? Using kind of a canvas about this big to contain it all and manage the amount of workload that I commit to. But our circus tent has become bigger and more grand than we first planned. So my plan is now to do a circus tent battle map, which will be circus tent interior, exterior, and immediate surroundings on like a 44 by 32 grid with like an empty arena. And then pack number 2 for this month will be basically the rest of the map assets, including some minor tents, which might be 5 by 6, for example. And that'll keep it all manageable, right? And we'll have 2 packs, one which will be a big glorious tent that we can pour a whole week of work into and make it really spectacular. And then we can do the same thing with a map asset pack and make more and better. And I think it'll work out just better overall. Hey Bella, right now I'm just drafting, so I'm using just a very simple brush. If we zoom in, I added a bit of opacity dithering so that it looks a little more interesting. And then there's pressure sensitivity with my touchpad here, tablet. And that just gives us this basic brush, but all I'm doing here is drafting. If you're picturing the usual line art that I have, I think I have an example. This one will do. Perfect. This is actually drawn with real life pen and paper. So unfortunately, that's not a brush set I can share. Like this line art is pen and paper. It looks something like this. Probably just blinded a few people. Sorry about that. As for pens, well, you'll just have to tune into one of my other streams where I'm drawing with pen and paper, because at this point, I don't remember what they're called. And thank you, Indian DM. You're an inspiration. Yeah, so you said the lines look organic. That's probably why, because they are quite organic. The reason I use pen and paper is for that reason mostly, so that And there's it takes some of the perfection out that you can achieve with digital line art. Strategic amount of lack of control, I guess. Okay, so what do I want to do? Let's start thinking out loud. I'm picturing the battle map is going to be exterior with the surroundings and the exterior tent. And then this interior will be either, well, both of these things, an overlay that you can just plonk on top, or it will also have its own battle map where it's just surrounded by darkness. So this map here is basically going to be arranged. The question I have is, do I want to put it in like landscape or portrait? I'm feeling like portrait, and we put it at one end, and that gives us like a sizable area in front of the circus for us to decorate with all this stuff. That seems the way to go. So I'm going to just duplicate this first because I'm afraid of what I'm about to do. Don't need you right now. Let's just take all of this stuff. Well, not that. Whoop. Oh, hold up before I do that. Switch my colors around. Do it again. Hold up. I guess that can't be helped. All right, well, we'll fix it. Okay, so eventual composition will be a bit like this. Just lining up the doors and the edges. And something I was talking about yesterday is originally I didn't plan to put these, what is that called? Structural ropes, rigging. I didn't want to put them all the way around because it would have ballooned the canvas size and made it very inconvenient to print, but we're getting around that. This. Hmm? Yeah, that'll do. Just get rid of this stuff. Okay, and flip it. All right, so this is what it's kind of, this will be what you stick in front of your players. It's not centered, is it? No, that's annoying. It's, we can't center it unless we do like an uneven. Oh, no, no, I think I'm wrong. Hold up. I think it's supposed to be right about there. One, two, three, four, 5.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. And this is right. We can see the problem is I only had one here when it should be two. So this is perfect. So it will be centered. Happy days. Yeah, I'm looking at our little underlay bit. That looks good. Just for drafting. Oh, got to do some maths. Pressure to do maths when I'm streaming is too much, so I'm just gonna count this. This is 22. We want a little 22 section off to the side. Let me save this because I'm using the square marquee tool, and the square marquee tool tends to crash my computer. So we'll make a nice early save. This is going to be Circus Tent. I feel like that name might be a little bit lame, but it's very, very descriptive, so we'll probably stick with it in the end. Okay, we have our Circus Tent draft, and I want to grab all this again. Do I? Oh, this is annoying, because I went and deleted it all, didn't I? Okay, I've got an idea. Bear with me while I struggle against Photoshop. I want this to be 54. Oh, look, it's still partially there. All this is going in the bin. We're just gonna grab this stuff all over again. We'll use our little changeling token to remember where we positioned it. So we've got just these two layers that I want to move. Okay, that's easy enough. Save because I'm about to use the square marquee tool, which is so scary. And I want it to snap, please. Take this kind of 22-inch section and just shift it without crashing my computer. Oh, it's crashed. It's crashed. And we caught it on stream for the first time. But yeah, this is this weird little problem I have with my Photoshop is Square Marquee Tool does this about 50% of the time. So it doesn't happen when I use any of the other marquee tools, so maybe I'll do it with the circle one next. But yeah, this is what happens, and it'll hang like this forever and ever. So bear with me while I restart Photoshop. Do a quick task manager end task kind of operation. A big thanks to the 12 people who showed up for this stream. Sorry you're staring right now at a be right back screen, but technical difficulties and all. Okay, that's cool. So Photoshop did attempt to, switching back now, Photoshop did attempt to save and recover my draft. It was for the wrong project file, but good to know it tried that time because I did turn on a setting in the preferences for that. And this is the first time I've tested it. All of our stuff's not here, so I have to open it up. All right, and we're back. Yep, so everything left of this blue line will be our battle map. Everything to the right is essentially going to be an asset. So what was I thinking before? We were just shifting these two layers over. And we're going to use the circle selection tool this time in an attempt to survive the process. But my snapping's turned off again. Yeah, it's not snapping. Okay. If you get the same crashing issue that I do, sometimes using the transform is better than like control and dragging. I have a little minor heart attack every time it hangs. Right, and let's try to be kind of disciplined with our layers. Even if you all can't see my layers, it helps me be efficient with my time if they're well labeled. Here we are. So this layer is kind of major form, I guess. And then this is, yeah, my sketch layer, so that's fine. Sketch. And then this is like minor form. I don't think we need this one anymore. Oh, and the changes I made to the grid have also undone themselves. Yeah, we want something like that, but a little bit more blue to be stylish. Okay. Back in business. Sample token. We have here one of David Wilson's tokens just to help remind us of the scale of things. Because it's just looking at a 5-foot grid, hard to picture things, but when I put down a little token, then it's a different story. And I think she's just a little bit too big, right? Does a human being have like a 3-foot power stance? I suppose that's about right. Anyway, let's just save what we've done so far. Okay, here we are. We're at the starting point. How long did that take? We've been streaming for 20 minutes already. Blimey, and we're just now starting. So yeah, if you're watching in the future on YouTube, please leave a timestamp in the comments for your other fellow viewers so they can skip to this point. What I want to do is figure out the seating in the interior. And we're going to do that with alternating colors, basically. So first of all, is this even centered? It's not centered. Like that would be centered. That's frustrating. Okay. Okay, right about there. Yes, as I was saying, we need our sample token over here, please. Because she's going to help us figure out, just eyeball the kind of scale for this stuff. So if you weren't here for yesterday's stream, essentially this is all seating minus this, the entryway for customers. We have a little walkway around the arena, some trapeze towers. This is backstage area. And then these areas are the stairways to, access all the seating. Yeah, it'll become more apparent the further we get in. Okay. So I'm going to do a little bit of foreshortening here. So the topmost seats are going to be larger than the bottommost seats. So maybe we start at the bottom. And maybe we start, yeah, I suppose it is a seat at the bottom. Yeah. Okay, so looking at our changeling girl, I'm thinking, see, I can tell that the whole thing isn't centered. I think I'm going to have to rebuild this thing. So sit tight. Maybe we'll use the red layer. Okay. That's frustrating. When I press this particular key combination I need, it opens up Windows language settings. But we've got this far. Okay. And yet again, we've arrived at the starting point, basically what we started with at the start of the stream. But everything's perfectly centered now. So what I want to do, get rid of the old busted one. And then using this layer, which we've just made, we'll just start in here. And that's not going to ruin anything over here. I think that's fine. These sketches are also fine. They seem to be where they're supposed to be. All right, so first, what's it called? First row of seating. And I'm going to make them probably a little bit bigger, the seats, than what would be reasonable. Like this is a big old seat. It's probably 2 feet. So like, I guess that's reasonable. But like, we want to do the foreshortening, so this upper area is going to be quite large. And the part of the reason being so that the staircase can have steps that are smaller than the seats. Because if the steps are the same scale as the seats, it's going to look very strange. Yeah, so I really do need to hold down Alt-Shift to use this tool in this way, centered and maintaining aspect ratio. But the same keybind opens up Windows language settings, so it's a frustrating experience right now. And also it's snapping. We need to turn off snapping. Oh, but I want snapping so that it snaps to the very center. Okay, so we want snapping on, but I'll just zoom right in so that it doesn't really affect things. Can I hold down control as well, or am I going to open up some other weird keybind? No, I could just make micro adjustments like this. Okay, I can already see the foreshortening kind of taking effect, so happy days. I want to make sure the topmost seat isn't like giant sized, isn't weirdly scaled. And we're going to have to do some serious foreshortening on the trapeze towers too. It's going to make any sense. How many more can I squeeze in here? Maybe like, oh, this is awkward. Okay, 2 more rows of seats. And also the higher up we get, the more the not the underside, but like the side of the seat's going to be visible. And then I think the back seats might have a backrest to them, perhaps. Or we can just kind of shrink the whole circus down to this size. There we go. So how many rows is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 rows. And the top row does look very large. But I think that's okay because, like, let's be honest, the action's going to take place down here. So maybe like your ranger or your spell sniper is going to run all the way up here to the back. Suppose. But at that point, fine, we'll have a bit of a laugh. We'll be like, haha, you look tiny up there. And then we'll move on. Yeah, Brandon, that occurred to me too. It's a popular request, a very long-term request. I think that was probably kind of spurred on by Critical Role Season 2. And it's well timed, I think, because next month's D&D module is also based around the circus. Hey, Eric, welcome back. Okay, and you're not the first person to say they like the idea of a jousting field. I looked at some jousting fields, or I happened to see one in the video I was watching last night. They don't look very interesting. And it also made me think, like, if you're going to run a joust, do you need a battle map? Because you're not really going to use combat rules. Do you want the battle map so you can put your tokens on and go wee and like play it out? I think if you were to play out a joust in D&D, it would be theater of the mind. But I do also suppose that having a jousting field is kind of an immersion thing more than a tactical grid kind of thing. So I'm still thinking, I still think we will do a jousting field. Hmm. But I don't think it's going to be this month. Okay, definitely want to turn off snapping now. Hmm. And this color scheme the walkways actually. This one. Can I just use that? No, that's weird. Yeah, this would be so much easier with Marquee Tool, but Marquee Tool has already crashed Photoshop once this stream. I think I'll risk it though. If it crashes again, then we'll just swear it off. Hold on, what is the purpose of this area? I don't think it has one. Like, we don't need side entrances. Would side entrances be interesting in an encounter sort of sense, like for reinforcements to pour in? I suppose it'll be fine to have them all come in through this 20-foot curtain. What was I thinking yesterday when I made this area? I think maybe it was just for symmetry's sake. I think I'm imagining back here a little bit of clutter, crates and boxes and jousting equipment. Maybe a side entrance. Did I get this from one of my reference images? Let me quickly look that up. Circus tent interior. Oh, I've been meaning to read through MCDM's Arcadia. If they have joust-friendly rules, maybe I'll use that to inform the battle map. But yeah, very right. Like, it may start off as a joust, but if the player character starts losing, it might become more of a brawl. Yeah, Aiden, I think it'll end up being storage. I'm just looking in the background now at some photos of circus tents, just to see if there's any official purpose for that sort of space. Hmm. I'm getting into the mind of the circus owner who wants to cram as many seats as possible in. Why he would leave that space open? I wonder if we should move these jousting towers back into this space? Because that would both justify the space and give the people sitting here a better view of things. Let's test that theory. Not all the way back, because then presumably there's a slope to the tent. This isn't working well at all. Let's just draw the thing. Like, I have a pen right here. Yeah, so we can move these towers back. And then that kind of makes sense to me. VIP boxes is an interesting idea. Let's just work on this side for now. And if we don't like it, I'll just copy paste this back over here. So, yeah, I suppose the stairs will still be stairs, sorry, seat. I suppose the stairs will come all the way up to here. Thanks, Brandon. I mean, that tent did take about an hour and a half to get right, which you can watch the stream that took place yesterday. It wasn't as effortless as it looks. And I'm still not quite happy with it. I think I want to make it less symmetrical. But that's just a maybe right now. Okay, so I'm thinking tower. Top of the tower. Maybe do some dramatic foreshortening, like bottom of tower here, ladder. I guess the ladder would be on the other side, probably. Almost definitely, because they have to swing off this end. Oops. This also has the advantage of all this extra space for acrobatics. Like, originally when it was here, we only had this, what was that? 5, 10, 50 feet. It's kind of a boring acrobatics routine. But we've added another 20 feet. So I'm starting to feel like this is the way to go. I think each one of these seats also has like the side visible, so it's not all seating. It isn't like 5-foot butt space. And then the lower it gets, the less and less the side is visible. That's what it'll look like eventually, but I'm not going to draft all that. And in theory, the worst seats of the house are like this one, which kind of obscures only a third of the arena from you. So that seems reasonable. Actually, I'm looking at the wrong side. It would be this one, and the towers are out of the way in this case. So this seems like good circus design to me. Except, of course, the ladder should be on the other side. And this isn't just going to be a brick like I've drawn. This will be like a scaffolding looking thing. Mm-hmm. I think at these edges, we'll have kind of an inverted version of this perspective where it's sloping out. Here it's sloping in. So we can draw a bit of circus tent wall, which will allow us to draw a much more interesting exit slash entry. And then there'll be like light streaming into. Same thing down here. And this will also help the seats look nice and high up. We don't really have to bother with that because what did I draw over here anyway? So it's more than 10 feet wide here. Okay. What am I going to do about that? I think that the tent canvas kind of comes out in this shape. Then be like this. Weird, it's too weird. Maybe we preserve a little bit of this perspective so that, yeah, let's just change the perspective a bit. So maybe this one is just pure top down. We just have the glow coming in. Maybe I'll be able to visualize it better if I flip it first. Let's try this way. Yeah, I think this will work. But really, the issue is I just need to draw it like this. Here's the secret you'll learn as you watch these streams is really I have no idea what I'm doing. Maybe this is going to look very weird once it's overlaid, but I don't really think it's going to be designed as an overlay. I think this is going to be a standalone to the side battle map. The other option is to take this shifted perspective on the left and apply it to the right as well, which currently is just top down. And see, if I were to do that, it would be a matter of shifting all the seating by a certain degree. Tempted to like make a 3D render rather than figure it out this way. That's pretty much the method, yeah, Eric. That's the secret. I'm leaning towards that, Phil. Top down is definitely better for a grid, right? Yeah, I think that's it. I think we just stick with that. Like the whole purpose of shifting it would be just to make this entryway work better, but it'll be quite a huge sacrifice for not much gain. So I'm pretty happy with where it's at. Maybe I'll do something about this door. Yeah, it's cool. So let's just get back to what we were working on. I'm too nervous to use that square marquee tool, so we'll just do this one. Oop. Yeah, right. Okay, so we've got our bands, which we'll use for sitting. I'm not convinced that the scale is right yet. Like maybe I should halve it. Like the circus looks massive from the outside and like not so big from the inside. Kind of looks like a walkway at the top. If I were to halve it, if I were to halve this seating space, then that would look much too small. I think what I need to visualize is that ridge which I talked about earlier. If I do it now, it's going to mess up some of this area, but we'll live with that. Because it's not all butt space at the top. There's leg space, which will be visible too. And am I picturing seats where you're like walking along the seating area to access this? Like where people's feet are right behind you? That's kind of weird, right? I need to look at some seats. Let me alt tab into Google and look at some what would I call this? I'll just look at more circus interior and see if I can find some. But mostly I'm just finding modern circuses with fancy seats and backed seats and whatnot. Whereas I'm imagining benches with no backing. Okay, I found something like it. So it goes like bench. Yeah, it's just alternating bench, walkway, bench, walkway. Seems obvious in hindsight, but it's a tough thing to picture when you're working with graphs that are this simple. Let me just jump into a sketch and make sense of like just a little section down here. Yeah, straight benches, kind of, there would be something like this. Boop, boop, boop. A bunch of arranged straight benches. That may eventuate, but at least while we're drafting, we'll just keep these round edges. I've been meaning to rewatch that, Eric. Yeah. I watched it a long time ago, but I remember loving it. They don't have a circus, but they do have a joust right at the start, if I remember right. It'll be like... Okay, so here's bench. Here's the lip of the bench, or the... not sure what to call it, words. And then we have walkway, and then we have walkway partially obscured by bench, and then we just repeat that all the way down. Walkway being probably about a third of this space which we've defined. And then the bottom bench obviously doesn't need walkway, it just joins up to this walkway. This will be out before too long, Drew. It'll be out this month on Patreon and out next month on the website. So before too long. Just a series of very confusing lines right now, but if we grab our token, drag her over, can we imagine her sitting on a bench this big? I can imagine it. Can we imagine her sitting on a bench this big? Still a bit cartoonishly big, but it's fine. It's much more plausible than calling this a bench and saying she's just taking up all this space like some kind of gnome. Okay, so yeah, we'll use this as a guide. Save before I make any major changes. Am I snapping right now? Probably not. Okay, yeah. I have a good feeling about this. I don't think it doesn't matter how we arrange these benches. It's not really going to fit the grid very elegantly. It's going to be one of those areas of the map where it's just put your token close enough to where you're really seated. Work with me, Photoshop. Can I hold down Control to turn off snapping? I can. I learned something. A little bit of finger acrobatics to work with the canvas this way, work with the selection tool this way. Okay, and then our final one is going to be Can I delete? I want it this color. Then I'll recreate our arena, which was indeed that big. Okay. That's weird. Did I make a... Must have been offset at one point. So let's step it back a few times. That selection was problematic. Hmm. Yeah, when I started out, I said, let's divide it up 2/3 bench, 1/3 walkway. But I kind of want to make it half and half now. Because once we get down here, the walkway's so small. I suppose in a packed tight circus, you're kind of... I'm imagining like a football stadium, you're just shimmying sideways past everyone, like a cinema. So maybe that's okay. Because 5-foot scale is here at ground level. Up here is where it changes. So we want the bottom level to make the most sense. I think I want to step it back. Forgive me, everyone. But we're going to step it back to here and do it differently. Don't fight me, Photoshop. Okay, so this kind of proportion, half but erring on the side of the seat is bigger than the walkway. And the final seat. Okay, so this lighter colored band is our seat. So I can imagine tokens lined up here. It's going to be cramped and uncomfortable, like a circus should be. And yeah, that's plausible. Just hope you're not seated in front of a kid who likes kicking things. Yeah, this feels right. Okay. Then I want like a little railing to the arena. And this is convenient because here at the 5-foot level where all the action happens, you know, the grid is behaving quite nicely with this circle. Like there's a clear pathway around here. So that's lovely. You know what? Major form. You just need a mask on this to exclude the walking areas. Ooh, it's snapping again. So for everyone who wasn't watching me this time last month on Twitch making map drafts, the whole purpose of this draft is so that I have something. I figured out all the proportions and all the difficult decisions are made digitally, where there's my Control Z key and all of these circular tools. I don't have to bother with compasses and whatnot when I go to draw the line art. And then I'm just going to convert this to something I can print out and then print it out with very faint lines. Then I draw the line art over that, which you should see in the coming days. Hoping to get it all done before the weekend, because come Sunday, I am going on a short getaway, meaning I won't be able to stream. I won't have this whole setup, and I'll be working, but I'll be working from a laptop, which I don't think will enjoy streaming. I can hardly deal with Photoshop alone. So hoping to get as much of the fun stuff done as possible. And then maybe I can get the boring stuff done while I'm away for the stream. Okay, this interior is starting to look quite complete. Okay, so this, saying okay a lot, this stairwell, I also want to make sense of this. Token, please come help us. So we have staircase. A very wide staircase for a circus, right? But that's because we want to conform to the grid. We're going to put a guard railing on it. Somewhere like that. So it's not quite as absurdly wide anymore. We haven't figured out this tower yet, so I'll just, it's deliberately messy right now. Okay, so this guardrail goes all the way to top, tippy top. Top seat is this band here. So my seats are the dark area. So the top of the walkway, this is the topmost walkway. So really our steps are going to end here, and they're going to start. This is seat. Whoa, I'm a little bit lost now. Seat, walkway, seat, walkway, seat, walkway. Do I stuff this up completely? Seats, yeah, I messed it up. Hold on, is it right over here? Oh boy. Okay, so clearly I was working using this area, but this area is just wonky. So either I was not snapping to the very center when I was making my selections, or something else has gone wrong. Maybe when I press Control. No, see, I thought I was getting like this effect when I press Control, but that's not the case. Is this it? If I hold Shift. No, if I hold Shift, Control, and Alt all at the same time, in theory it should just make this consistent aspect ratio circle with its origin at the center. But somehow that's betrayed me, and it worked over here and not over here, which is frustrating because it means we're gonna have to do it all again. Unless I just do some copy pasting shenanigans. I think let's try that instead. So first I need to make sure we're absolutely fine here. Seat walkway, seat walkway, seat walkway, seat walkway. This should be seat actually, so I need to make one more selection because we have one more row here. Major form mask. Yeah, Eric, actually last time I went where I'm going this weekend, I did make some napkin art of the cafes and stuff. Turns out they're very uninteresting if you think of them top down, by and large. Oh, wrong layer. All right. What I'll do. Yeah, that works. So here's our last seat. Let's look again with our token. Is that a reasonable seat? Yeah. Yeah. Not comfortable, but kind of want to make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, so why are you doing this Photoshop? Are you lagging right now? Yeah, that looks more reasonable. To see, even with that selection, it's thicker on this side. Okay, that looks about perfect. Definitely the sort of cinema seats where you have to squeeze past. But this section is working. I'm curious if this section is also working. It does look different, doesn't it? My idea is we just copy this quadrant and paste it to all the other quadrants, since this quadrant at least is working. That's what I'm going to do. I'm even going to risk using rectangular marquee tool. We're just going to save first before we do it. This is about to get janky. Was I not snapping when I did that? Yeah, so last circle selection I made, I wasn't even snapping to the center. Oh boy. Okay, so if I alt drag this, there's about a 50% chance it's going to crash Photoshop, but I'm going to try it. Okay, so it looks like it worked. Grr, this bit. What can I do about that? Is the issues? Because I see it snapping here, just off center. I think this is the cause of all our problems. Is there must be a layer or something else that it's snapping to? So let me just turn off all my snapping except for the grid. And then it should just snap to the grid now, which it's doing. So if I were to do all this again, it would work this time. Yeah, I mean, this is gonna leave a lot of work to be done, so I think we do it that way. I think what I do, though, is make a new layer, a nice bright red that probably blinded everyone watching at home. And then, but definitely the last time, we do this process again. In this case, red is going to be our seat, and not red is going to be our walkway. Now that I turned off all that snapping, it's so much easier to tweak this selection, the size. I'm just making this selection here, and what this is going to do is highlight just how off we were over here. And then we'll just use this red selection as our seating. Not close enough. Okay, have we done it? We imagine these red bands as the seating. It all looks reasonable enough. All right. And we can see again just how off I was the first time. First 10 times. So get rid of our kind of white colored seating. Yeah, I suppose I'm just gonna have to delete. Oh no. Messed up again. Look. My brain is reeling. Maybe I should have... Okay, well, at least I'm certain this time. Now we've got all this information we want here. And I can totally just duplicate these and just forget about all the messed up area. I must have done like one row that was centered on a different corner. Yeah, man. Okay, see, we're learning as we go along. But it's totally perfect now. It's totally perfect. There are no more changes to be made. We'll just tidy up this bit a little bit. And then at long last, we'll get back to figuring the stairs out. You think they'd be seating at the top of the stairs? Hold up. I guess that makes sense. Put seating here. I mean, your sight line would be obscured by anyone who wants to walk up and down, I guess. Oh, hold up, I've also forgotten the arena. Snapping. No more snapping, please. I very deliberately made the single thing that I wanted to accomplish today is just perfecting this draft so that when I sit down tomorrow, well, either we'll work on the circus assets draft or we'll jump straight into the line art for this stuff. I think I might want to do the asset draft first because there's a possibility some of the assets I draw might change some decisions to do with this map. Okay, it looks good. Looks foreshortening also. You want to apply that just slightly to the stairwell. So that's probably going to look something like this. Well, something like this. Oh, wrong layer altogether. Maybe just we skew it. Just a bit to suggest the shape of it, right? Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so kind of want the stairs to make sense. I know I could just put a bunch of stairs in, call it a day, but I think realistically the stairs would kind of match up with the walkways. But maybe that's getting a little bit too complex. Well, the other question, is this a wall? No, this bit, oops, this bit leading up to the curtain, this weird dotted line is a curtain. This is just railing, like the same stuff right here. In fact, like this. This is backstage. This is where all the performers come in. It's railing up to here, and then this is wall. What I'm going to do is make a detailed left-hand side, and then we're just going to copy that over to the right-hand side. Yeah. Okay, so this corner to this corner. Wall. Wood or something. In fact, what might that be? Probably wood, I guess. There'll be an awful lot of wooden wall to transport around with your traveling circus. Maybe it's a curtain? We've got these wooden seats, stairwells though. This is way too overly detailed, but I'm imagining if I was sat here, like my sight line would be less than this amount. I guess that's a reasonable amount. The cheap seats are the edges where you can't see much. It's fine. I'm getting way too detailed. A wall, maybe even the wall has this stairwell side to it. Mm-hmm. The edge of bench follows this line. Something more dramatic, actually. Maybe this line. And I think this is completely off over here. I have good days and bad days when it comes to visualizing things in 3D. Some days it just comes very naturally. Other days it don't. Okay, and then there'll be this visible here. So actually we want that line here. Obviously. Right there. Yep. And these, that makes sense. Okay, next I think I'm going to put off the stairs a little longer. These walkways are kind of platforms like this, right? And these chairs have little support beams here. There's little ledges here. And this stair should probably be a slight angle. Right, and I think the stairs and all of these platforms are completely separate pieces, so there's no case where this walkway joins up. These stairs are just independent, and yeah. And then I can figure out the stair spacing separately, which is going to be similar in scale to the bench, I suppose. Just offset. Just see if I can freehand it. I'm pretty confident I won't need to get too crazy. That looks right to me. There's our token. Yep, that looks pretty much perfect. Even looks like she's posing on the stairs. Cool. Suppose I'll just sketch this in. The back wall of the circus. It comes down a bit further. And then that will move this a bit. And then at the top here, it'll be like here. That makes sense. Okay. So this whole shape makes sense to me. Ignore the trapeze tower for now. This kind of looks a bit short, right? I think this angle needs to be more generous. So here's the issue: is it's still wall when we get up to here. So really, this is comes down a bit before it reaches the seat. And from there, comes down to a little bit further than the railing, to about there. Mm-hmm. This is going to have like luggage and cargo and performance equipment and stuff. But we'll do that when we're drawing the line art. I don't need to draft that. The drafting's just like structural stuff. I keep forgetting I have this tea, which is now ice cold. Time to Alt-Tab and look at what a trapeze tower looks like. I suspect it's very basic. I forgot when I searched trapeze tower, it comes up with weird gym equipment. Yeah, I remember looking this up yesterday. So it's very, very basic stuff. But for the purposes of our fantasy battle map, I'm going to make it a sizable enough platform that it's an obvious piece of terrain, you know? This circus has sizable trapeze tower. Oh, I wish I could have another cup of coffee, but it's far too late for that. Enjoy. I think this will be easier if I flip it. Doot. And we draw like this. Now I'm thinking maybe we do some kind of... I don't want to do like a tower. Well, I might end up doing a tower like this with kind of structural poles. That does look feasible. But I think a traveling circus doesn't want to haul around these massive towers. Maybe like siege weapons, they just build it when they get there. Chop down a few trees, build a siege tower. But along that line of thought, I'm thinking maybe just a big pole with a tower attached. That gives you plenty of excuse to move in these squares too. And I think this will probably come like right up to here. Maybe this perspective is way too dramatic. I think this pole here doubles as maybe this support beam. Maybe. But let's try making it a bit more dramatic. So we'll kind of connect it with the ground here. Yeah, that looks better. How does it connect to this thing? There's probably supports underneath the platform that can worry about that. And I don't need to structurally engineer this. But perhaps we want People often ask me to include very obvious ladders on the maps. So I wonder if we can do that. Because in my mind, the ladder's definitely on the back end. It's not like coming up this side. And I kind of feel like the pole serves as the ladder, like going up the back end of the pole as handholds. Give me a second just to do something. Okay, where were we? Speaking of this curtain here, that's something we'll want to draw in. Ooh, I wonder if these could possibly line up with these? Not really, huh? And here's the other question. Obviously, these supports attached to the ground somewhere. Do we worry about mapping where that is? Ooh. Also, that looks weird now. Should be... There's plenty of room for trapeze tricks, hey? I'm beginning to like what this has become. Means I should probably save once in a while. Yeah, so this is looking good. I'm going to copy paste this staircase over this side. And then we're just going to grab everything on the left half and paste it over on the right half. But before I do that, let's figure out this curtain. I wonder... In theory, like this is the section of circle wall. This is kind of the perspective we're dealing with, which is a little weird if it's greater than this wall, because this wall is that much more leaning away due to the kind of lens effect. That probably doesn't make any sense. But maybe we can afford to increase the size of this as well. We'll have to do the same thing here. So we pretty much doubled it. A little more than doubled it. Means we'll move this pillar again. It should be something like this. Mm-hmm. And I suppose too, this should kind of be rounded a little bit. Maybe not. Oh, you know what's weird about this is that the wall and the seats don't really match up, because here is kind of floor level. So this wouldn't be quite as dramatic as we made out. Kind of go to here. Meaning this would be pushed up here. And this kind of works with what we got going on up here. Oh boy. And the other consideration is how high to make that curtain. No, I think it's fine. Obviously, there's all this empty air between the top of the wall and the sloping roof. But nobody's gonna, maybe if you stood up on this bench, you could see over, but I think that's fine. Down here, it's definitely fine. Hey, Super Hash Brown. I've only ever played two. I've only ever played Pathfinder, the 3.5 kind of edition, and 5th edition of D&D. So I actually love them both, but my group plays with 5th edition much more because it's just more accessible. I'm going to be cheeky and copy this over here. I guess this is all curtain. Is this the kind of curtain that rolls up like that? Or does it roll? Probably does that kind of stage curtain effect. So there's like a, yeah, like a stage curtain, I suppose. Maybe it's more like this. And this is some kind of rail. Ooh, that's going to be an awkward thing to draw. Maybe we do like this and just kind of fade it up into black. Hmm. Maybe we don't even draw this curtain. I like that idea, Eric. That's definitely one of the things they build when they reach a new location. If I search for circus curtain, is anything going to come up? Lots of stuff. Okay, there is a pretty distinct shape to what I'm trying to imagine. And I see some of them have kind of a wooden frame too. I think this one has a wooden frame. So what might that look like? I keep forgetting I just have to draw on this side. Maybe wooden frame would come across here. And then the curtain, kind of this shape. Hmm. Yeah, I suppose when it's on both sides, it'll look like something. Maybe it's just a bit straighter though. Okay, looks like something. Whatever that curtain attaches to is obscured by this wooden support beam, which could be fun if you're like a rogue or something, and you climb up here and you can run along like some roof beams, kind of. Yeah. When I look at it now, this looks about right. Circus curtain. Oh. So this particular reference image I'm looking at in the background now is more interesting than what I've got here. So the shape is kind of, and whoop. And then there's a little tie-off kind of deal there. Yeah, I'll make further sense of this shape when I draw the line art. But that'll do for now. And then this will be an interesting shape. A curtain-looking shape. Important bit. Wonderful. Okay, I think I want to tidy up the stairs just a tad. Ultimately, this needs to be very simple drafting line art. Gonna have the same thing up here. This bench. No. Okay, so this is what's weird about this area. Kind of drop and whoop, then continue that. Oh, thanks, Nala. Thank you. Yeah, I like it, Eric. Okay, that makes more sense now. And then, of course, these are not just big hunks of wood. The wall would also be visible underneath. What I should have done is draw a line like that. Okay. Okay. This goes back too far. Should follow that line, I guess. Stairwell is fine. And in a position where I should start duplicating it. Get rid of that mess. And take, actually first I want to risk crashing my computer, but that's all right. Flip. Position. Wonder to myself if this perspective is just a little bit too dramatic for them to be so close together. That's the spot. No, it might be fine. Might be fine. If I flip it, we're going to tell immediately whether it's fine or not. Looks fine. Does look like whatever lens is looking at this map is a bit of a fisheye lens, but that's okay. We're allowed to exaggerate the perspective, but I do want this curve we've got just to be a little less. These stairs aren't curvy. These stairs are straight. Yeah. Okay, I like that a lot. Yeah, it's the old fantasy GoPro camera they've attached to the ceiling so they can, maybe it's a security camera, I guess. They can have that wide angle view, keep an eye on the whole crowd at once. Right, let's snap this time. Well, even though I had this suspicion that snapping to the grid is what's causing my crashing. But you know, we're making saves often, so I don't really mind if I crash. Whoop. We're gonna have to redraw that entryway, but that's all right. Better that than redraw all these annoying stairs. Mm-hmm. Now, the perfectionist in me questions whether or not staircase here would be called for. Because logically speaking, if your seat is back here and you're the last person to walk in, you're going to have to squeeze past a lot of people to get there. I think the architect would put a staircase in there. But it would be at the expense of more seats. And Oh, whatever thought I had just disappeared. More tea. An awkward angle as well. But let's just do a very quick and dirty mock-up of what it would look like if we did introduce some stairs over there. Yoop. Oh, that didn't work. Just ignore the railing that's on it. What do you think, stairs or no stairs? I think the stairs are interesting. I think helps break up the pattern, you know? The eventual map's going to have a heck of a lot of seating. Beginning to like them. So let me just isolate this stair. We want to get the angle completely right, which is kind of a tall order. But we just have to connect this corner with that corner of the wall, and yeah. Oops. Move our pivot point there, and then we can kind of adjust. Oh, hold up. We want to attach here. Okay. Excuse me, miss. This makes sense to me. Why are you snapping to stuff? Oh, we're fine. Okay. Maybe this is going to make more sense when I get rid of this area. Oops. I think my brain has begun to filter out the alerts that I set up on my phone to remind me to stretch, because I have not done that today. foolishly. I'll probably pay for it tomorrow. Yeah, I like that better. This was a good decision. Whoa. And that's enough detail for me to work with. Kind of annoying to work with though, so let's just add these back in. Okay. That makes sense. It's not a safety hazard or anything. These steps too will have more steppy feel. It won't just be straight line here. Lovely. Now we're just going to duplicate it real quick. Did I not already do that? No. Okay, that's perfect. Maybe it's fine. So I want to commit this to our main sketch layer. And then, risking the marquee tool, we just, well, we turn on snapping first. Make this sort of selection. Duplicate, transform, flip horizontally, drop it in right there. Suppose I want to do the same thing with these seats. Ah, not the seats, but the seat mask. Yeah, that's about it. We've poured a lot of hours into this draft, but man, if we can get a good draft, it makes all the difference. Like a good map completely relies on a good draft. If I just kind of printed out a couple of circles and then went with that, it would be decent probably, but I'm not content with just making decent maps anymore. I've made a lot of decent maps in my time. Now I want to make special maps. I want to make impressive maps. I want to impress myself, you know, kind of challenge myself. Maybe there's a little hint of curtain up here. Maybe there's like some kind of lashing. No, there's some kind of pulley mechanism that can furl and unfurl this curtain. I don't need to understand how it works. It all exists behind the wall. Okay, obviously we need to get rid of this trapeze area. This is entryway. Entryway to mirror this entryway, which is kind of 10 feet plus 1 at the most open area, which is off the map here, meaning it kind of comes in. Yeah. I think in the eventual map, these walls are just going to fade to black. So at the base, you'll see the canvas, and then the higher up it gets, it'll fade off into nebulous, impassable terrain. And then these entryways are just going to be this glowing gateway in that darkness. Right. So I don't need to worry about anything in here because this is going to be decorated with Circus map assets, which are their own beast. And that's why we split the Circus map assets off into their own pack so that I can afford to pour so many hours into this draft. And I'm glad. I know for a fact there's some really good Circus maps and Circus map assets out there already. Map Hammer has definitely made a very enviable set of Circus tents. But it's been probably over a year since I looked at them, and I'm very deliberately not looking at them again because I don't want to let that influence my Circus tent. I think the best way to do something original is just to very deliberately not look at any outside influences. I looked at plenty of references, and there's always the risk that we both use the same references and end up with similar looking stuff. That happens very often. But I think that's a very honest mistake. It's another, yeah. Yeah, Eric. So that's kind of what I meant at the end there after you sent your comment. But reference images, like gobble them up, get as many reference images as you can. But if you're trying to make an artwork, those reference images probably shouldn't be other artworks, right? Maybe that doesn't make any sense. I'm hitting that point in the evening where I'm a little bit calorie deprived. I need my dinner. And I start rambling about weird stuff. But our map is looking good. I'm just preparing it. I think we might be finished with the interior. And then I've got some ideas for the exterior. But we've got 11 viewers overall. Thank you very much for stopping by, everyone. And if looking at this interior map, what am I forgetting? Am I forgetting something? There's like trapeze swings. That's a potential something. But I think trapeze swings are going to be a map asset in the next pack, not not something baked into this map. There'll be an optional add-on, so to speak. Stairs look good. Yeah, Eric, you love that jousting idea. That's good, that's good. We're gonna make a jousting map, but it's just not this one. Poles, yes, thank you, Robert. The poles. So that's an interesting question. I need to look at my reference images. Circus interior. When I look at interior, okay, here's a pretty good reference. Hold up, hold up. Yeah, let's figure out these support beams. Well, let me copy this. It's a terribly low resolution image. Unless I open it up. Hold up. Nope, it's tiny. What about this one? Oh, it's very bright. Okay, this is big enough. So this is what I'm looking at. Circus poles. Obviously, it's a cartoon, but you know it's based in reality. So these poles holding up the structure, they're at an angle, right? They don't have to be directly. Is that a bicycle? Interesting. Oh, it's tightrope. I see the tightrope now. Yeah, they don't have to be directly underneath the points that we've set in our tent roof layer. So we have this freedom so long as they're underneath or within, which makes me think all of our poles just follow this arena railing. That makes kind of architectural sense, I guess, because then you don't run the risk of performers running into them and you're not blocking anything unnecessarily. So yeah, thank you for reminding me. This is a good one to get done. So we got 5. And also center pole. Center pole. Are we really going to put a pole in the center? Let me look at more reference images because I'm imagining there might be some kind of girder system in between the 5 poles that hold up like a central pole maybe. No, I'm completely wrong. Let me share this image too. So this is what we've got. This is what we're dealing with in our circus. Big central pole, like the mast of a ship. We're just going to have to live with that. And then, hey, look, it's kind of the seating arrangement we've got. That's interesting. They put their stairs up the center, not at the edges. Interesting too. Yeah, anyway. What's the purpose of this tent? That's weird. Anyway, let's look at the poles. So central pole is a must, and then the rest I think are just going to be around the edges of the arena. Easy peasy. Where's my brush here? So big. Trying to imagine 5 feet again. Let's just stick with the token. So much easier than me trying to imagine a 5-foot square. We'll just kind of compare. It's a token for scale kind of situation. So central pole will be something like that thick, makes sense, and probably have some kind of padding around the edge. And maybe some, ooh, maybe we'll kind of tie some ribbons and streamers and stuff between these poles. Wait a second, what's this going to do for our trapeze artists? That doesn't make any sense. Oh, I think there's kind of two different types of circus tents. And I think trapeze takes place in the type that is more oval or rectangle and doesn't have a central pole to it. I think we invoke the fantasy escape clause. I think that's what needs to happen. Fantasy escape clause means I can ignore architectural necessities for the purpose of making a cool map in a fantasy world where this is held up by magic. And hopefully nobody outside of this chat will ever know. Oh, blimey, this one also is in the way of the trapeze. Yeah, offset trapeze, that crossed my mind. Like we could rotate, we could monkey with it, and have the trapeze fly by. Hmm. Yeah, exactly, Eric. Like, this exists in a fantasy or a D&D world. They probably just float some levitating. They just use immovable rods, right? Somebody with wings flies up there, places a few immovable rods, and then they just drape the circus tent over it and call it a day. Like, no structural beams whatsoever required. I wonder, so like central one is a no-no, these two are a no-no. I think we might sneak these four in, and then somebody using this in a mundane setting, a magic-free setting, can kind of explain to their players there's some kind of unmapped structural system to hold these other ones up. So maybe we like put them here, here, and 1, 2. Hold up, 1. How do we feel when that's off? What's going on? Yeah. Yeah, this makes sense to me. We could also just kind of redesign the roof. I don't think I'm married to this roof. Mm. Mm. So I think we put some bases here. It breaks up the monotony. It's an interesting addition, I think. And then I'm imagining this with only 4 secondary peaks. Basically, we just get rid of these ones and shimmy these around a bit. That could work. Yeah, I'm going to try it, but we're going to duplicate it so that we always have this to fall back on. But yeah, this is what we'll start with. And then I think I'm going to do a bit of foreshortening on these. Okay, well, while I fiddle with these a bit, what else am I missing? I don't think there's much else missing from here. I think this is pretty good. Makes structural sense. Enough, anyway. Yeah, I guess if I want to be pedantic, we just completely replace these peaks with kind of a four peak system. And then we'll decide which one looks best. And we'll either go with the cool one that's justified by fantasy magic, or we'll go with the one that uses support poles. But let's rotate these ones a bit. Fine. Oh boy, I can't stream for much longer, but maybe let's just jump in and do a quick edit of this. What will be the best way to do that? Just duplicate that, I think. Snapping, please. Oh, yep, it's crashed. I've crashed the Photoshop. Let me switch to a be right back screen and fix that up. It's fine, I just made a save. It's drilled into my psyche now to save before I ever use that tool. You know, I've tried reinstalling Photoshop. I reinstalled all of Creative Cloud. And it didn't fix anything. So I just don't know. Yeah, there's some days I forget to save, but lucky for us, it's not that day. Every time it crashes like that, I do lose the preferences that I changed. So like the grid is going to be all high contrast again. That's kind of annoying. And we're back. Yeah. Yeah, so the grid's going to be this annoying gray. Let me fix that for the third time today. That's much less obtrusive. Okay. Now, do I dare try the exact same thing as before? I'm gonna try it. Wish me luck. Just have to make sure I'm snapping to the right stuff. Snap to grid only, please. Moment of truth. Failed to copy. Oh, I just crashed it. So when I deselected my selection that time, it crashed, which I know is another trigger. Oh, hey, Grantovich. Yeah, I've also enabled autosave, but for some reason it's not working for this particular project file. It worked for my other one. I'll have to look into that. Yep. Back to BRB screen. I guess next time I try that, I'm going to use the lasso tool. Interesting to know if anyone in chat has any idea why just the square marquee tool would trigger a crash, and reinstalling Creative Cloud hasn't fixed it. I've been dealing with it for about 6 months now, I think, maybe more. I should just change that screen to say technical difficulties, since it's the only thing I tend to use it for. I'm just going to leave the grid like this for now. We're not going to use it too long. Actually, I can get away with using the elliptical tool, which doesn't trigger any crash. Oops. Huh? I've tried switching the graphics card, Grantovich. I haven't tried anything with the RAM. I'll have to give that a shot. And it is installed on my SSD, so yeah, hopefully the RAM does it. You know what? Why don't I just put this here? Okay. Suppose I do want to edit this grid after all. That'll do. All right, we succeeded. So I've saved it. We keep that progress. Nothing's broken. Good. Yeah, so I want to try a 4-peak system, which means I probably want to get rid of this inner circle, which is just going to serve to distract me. I don't know why circle marquee would work and square marquee would cause crashes, because surely calculating a circle takes more memory than calculating a square. So it doesn't really matter where the base of these support posts are, since they kind of splay outwards. So I'm just going to pick. Oh, it's snapping again. And this is kind of an opportunity to be less symmetrical about it. We can do something like this. Maybe we just kind of skew it a bit. So our entrance is going to be in the same spots. We just pretend they're leaning at awkward angles, not precise angles. Oh, thank you. I don't know how to pronounce your name, sadly, but I do appreciate it. And big thanks, really, to all the people who support me and allow me to do it. Maybe more dramatic than that? So these will be something more like this, which I think is just altogether boring when we compare it with this one. Maybe it'll be more interesting if we introduce a magical central pillar. But if we're going to have a magical central pillar, then we may as well just keep this one. Here's an interesting idea. We have the base here, and then from this base, multiple poles kind of spread out in this kind of shape. One goes kind of straight upwards for this one. And then there's this triangular beam system. And then also for the central pole, all four poles kind of cross over the middle. Maybe that'll be the canonical explanation for how this floor plan relates to this canopy. Or we go with immovable rods. Yep, I think that's it, because this is just unenchanting. But I am about to call it a day. It's 6:30 p.m. So maybe in my sleep I'll dream up a better solution, as so happens sometimes. But as for today's progress, I'm pretty satisfied with this. I really like the stair system we've come up with, and even though the trapeze doesn't make any sense, I like that too. There is the option of squeezing the trapeze closer to center and saying that trapeze pole is what's holding this up. That makes good sense. Minimizes the space they can do all their flips and whatnot, but you know. Oh, hello, and thank you for stopping by. Yeah, before I go anywhere, I just want to field test this idea. So if we, that's not really going to work. So the main bit, just pretend this trapeze doesn't exist right now. So trapeze, which we still want to fit the grid, is here with the base obscured by the platform, but in theory attaching to the ground along the railing. This pole accounts for this peak. These poles we can kind of skew a bit so that they're more dramatically leaning. And they can account for these peaks. And that leaves us just with the central peak unaccounted for, which might be some magic with ropes or something. But the question, or the regret, I suppose, that comes to my mind is that it makes our trapeze smaller and less dramatic, just less space in between. And also we come back to the problem of why is there all this space left open back here? Is it just storage? Secondary entrances? I think in most circuses, I've been to like one circus, proper circus with trapeze and everything once in my life, and part of the performance takes place on the platforms, right? So to have the platform so far back kind of might obscure them from view. Yeah, floating crystals, absolutely, absolutely. But if I can explain it with support beams, then I want to. Because you can always still explain it with floating crystals, but if you want to use this in your Vampire the Masquerade game, which as I know doesn't have, just as a civilian muggle circus, then you want support beams that make sense. Maybe we move it one space here. Yeah, so these, if I were to copy this over here, would make perfect sense for everything but central pillar. And central pillar is inevitably going to be, yeah, some kind of girder system. Or if we have our trapeze here anyway, we can offset it, and have just the trapeze all happen along this line. And then we can have a central pillar. Gosh, you know what? I'm going to sleep on it. I'm going to sleep on it and I'm going to look up some of the photos I think I took when I went to the circus and see what on earth they used. Because that tent was about this big. My memory. And they had trapeze and I have no idea what their support system is. But I'll go jog my memory and figure it out. Yeah, well, that's definitely going to call it for today. Well, this hasn't changed a bit, so this is our progress, which I'm very happy with. It took a lot of time, but just like the tent and everything, we were figuring it out as we went along the way. And I like where it's at. Yeah, okay, that'll do. So big thanks to everyone who's still here watching, and everyone who watched along the way, and everyone who might watch in the future. It's been fun. We've made some good progress. There might be some minor tweaks to make tomorrow. Otherwise, I might just print it off and we'll start drawing with a desk cam and pens and paper and fun stuff. So we'll see. But I hope you'll tune in. Thanks again and have a good one. Bye-bye.